You know, sometimes the most incredible histories are hidden in the most unexpected places. Today, we're basically becoming historical detectives. We're going to peel back the layers on a small town in New Jersey and uncover a story that might just change how you see the founding of America. So, let's get into it.
Okay, so our story starts right here, in a place you could go visit today, Gouldtown Memorial Park. And at first glance, it looks like any other quiet little town marker, right? But what if I told you that this one stone represents a community with roots that go deeper than the United States itself? Yeah, pretty amazing.
And here's the thing, Gouldtown wasn't some one-off fluke. Not at all. Take a look at this map. Every one of those dots is a historic free black community in New Jersey. Many of them were founded way before the Civil War, and some, as we're about to find out, were around even before the American Revolution.
Which, of course, brings us to the central mystery. How on earth, in an age of colonial rule and widespread slavery, did a community of free, land-owning people of color manage to build a town and actually thrive? That is the big question we're tackling.
So to find the answers, we got to put on our detective hats and start following the clues, starting right there on the map.
Well, the biggest clue is staring us right in the face: the name, Gouldtown. You just know that the story of this place is all wrapped up in the story of one single family.
And boom, here is our first piece of hard evidence. I know, it's a tax list, but check out that old script. You see that name? Benjamin Gould. And the date? 1777. That is smack dab in the middle of the Revolutionary War. This proves the Gould family was already there, already established as landowners.
And it's so important to remember these aren't just names in some dusty old book. These were real people who built this place. On the left, you've got Reverend Theodore Gould, a community leader. And on the right, Theophilus Gould Stewart, born right around the end of the Civil War. It really puts a face to the name, doesn't it? You can almost feel the lineage of pride and sheer perseverance. We even get a little window into their values. This is a family temperance pledge from an old family Bible. And yeah, it's about abstaining from alcohol, but it shows us something much deeper. That this was a community bound together by shared principles, by self-improvement, and by mutual support. And in such a precarious world, that kind of organized, principled foundation was absolutely essential to stay autonomous.
But to understand how they even got the land to begin with, we've got to follow a different clue. One that takes us back another 100 years and introduces a character you are not going to see coming.
This is our next key artifact. It's a land deed from, get this, March of 1712. 1712. And it mentions right there that the land comes from an Indian purchase. This one document connects the land not just to its colonial past, but all the way back to its even deeper Native American origins.
And right there, listed as the original owner of that land, is a man named John Fenwick, Esquire. Now, this is a huge clue, because John Fenwick was no ordinary settler.
This is Major John Fenwick. We're talking a 17th century English Quaker, an officer in Oliver Cromwell's army, and the guy who bought a massive chunk of land from the Lenni Lenape people to found the entire colony of West Jersey. So what in the world does this English aristocrat's story have to do with a free black community?
Okay, this timeline lays it all out. 1675, Fenwick establishes his colony. He dies in 1683. By the early 1700s, his estate is selling off pieces of that original land. And who, by the late 1700s, is an established owner of a piece of that very same land? The Gould family. The connection is direct. There's no doubt about it.
So this just deepens our mystery, right? It's not just how did this community exist, but how is its very foundation tied to the family of a powerful English colonist? Well, the answer isn't in a land deed. It's in a family secret.
All right. This is where all the different threads we've been following finally come together, and they reveal an origin story that is just so uniquely American.
The key turns out to be genealogy. You trace John Fenwick's family line down a couple of generations, and you land on his granddaughter, Elizabeth Fenwick. Turns out, family trees are the maps that can solve these kinds of historical mysteries.
And here it is. This is the heart of the whole story. According to generations of family history and supporting records, Elizabeth Fenwick, the white English granddaughter of the colony's founder, had a son, Benjamin Gould, with a black man. Benjamin is the same man whose name we saw on that 1777 tax document. And if you want a smoking gun, here it is. This is a letter from a researcher back in 1991. She's studying what she calls remnant Indian groups. And right there, she lists Gouldtown. She's looking for info on triracial groups of Indian, Negro, and European descent. This is modern research confirming a story that has been passed down for generations.
So when you put it all together, you realize Gouldtown isn't just a black story or a white story. It's a triracial story. You've got European roots through John Fenwick, you've got African roots through the father of Benjamin Gould, and it's all built on land that was and is the ancestral homeland of the Lenni Lenape people. 3 roots, 1 community.
This painting, it really captures that foundational moment, the meeting of the European settlers and the Lenni Lenape. And the wild part is, nobody in this picture could have ever imagined that this transaction for this land would eventually create an inheritance for their triracial descendants, a future that was just completely unthinkable.
So let's zoom out. Why does the story of one small town in South Jersey matter so much today? What's the big takeaway here?
Because Gouldtown's story shows us a complex, multiracial reality of America that has always been here, but it's often been ignored, or even erased. The simple narratives we learn about black and white, slave and free, they just don't hold up when you really start looking at the evidence.
And let's go back to that map we started with. Looking at it now, it's different, isn't it? You realize that each one of those dots isn't just a place on a map. It's a question. Each one holds a hidden history of resilience, of community, and complexity, just like Gouldtown's.
It just proves that our American origin story is so much richer and more interwoven than we're often taught. And it really leaves you with a final thought. If a story this profound can be found in one small New Jersey town, what other histories are out there hidden in plain sight, just waiting for a detective to come along and start asking questions?